co-host. Apparently I'm not co-host. So I can't be recording until I could make host. But anyway, I'll record my Zoom through the Discord, right? So the Discord is doing, not Discord, the OBS streaming is doing my recording, and I'm streaming currently to Discord, but there's a limit of 25 on that, and we have Zoom. So, if everything is fine with that, we can get underway. So I've got the recording going, everything else is up. I'll sort to the online recording later. So, if we have a look, a few words before we start. Omicron, COVID is everywhere. I saw yesterday we had 650 of Victoria students who had tested positive for COVID. It is everywhere. So I would suggest that we, keep yourself safe. Know that you've got to kind of I'll just mute that person. So know that there are, vaccine passes. If you're going on campus, you need to have a vaccine pass. Do use your hand sanitizers, masks, social distancing. Try and keep safe. I know the university wants to make sure that you've got access to in-person activities so that you feel there's value in being in Wellington. I'm going to be online for the first 3 weeks, which is why I'm teaching here. However, we will have in-person activities from next week. So our tutorials, which start next week, will have in-person, but they'll also have online, right? And that's partly why we're doing the Discord thing, because I find Discord is a better kind of off-time, asynchronous way of communicating for some of those tutorial times. And when we're all together in Discord at the tutorial times, that can also be useful. We'll use a mix of Zoom and Discord. So the Zoom channel will be where the lectures will be every week all the way through, including Yoti and Zohar when they lecture. And I'll be hanging about doing some stuff in Discord and trying to set up interesting streaming things and trying different technologies. And what about labs and tutorials? So labs and tutorials, they will start next week. And there'll be a mix of in-person, and I'll just get my chat up. There'll be a mix of in-person and remote. Okay, they can all be done remotely, right? So this course can be done entirely online if either you're an international student or you're unable to come to Wellington for some reason, or you don't feel that it's safe to be mingling with a whole bunch of plague-infested human beings at the moment. Up to you. So yes, we are, however, inclusive and respectful. I will respect all the people in class. One of the things I say about myself, and I'm a bit weird, so don't take this as being something for all lecturers, is that you can't offend me with things. So I can talk about any topic, and nothing is offensive to me. So in a sense, I'm a safe space because you can say anything you like. However, that's not true of everyone. So you can't just talk about anything with everyone because some people will be affected by what you say. So although we are respectful and caring, we also have to respect that some people are upset by things. There was a question around online marking. Yes, the marking can be done online. I'm particularly looking at the way that we can do our own invigilation. Last year we used ProctorU, which was a bit shit and wasn't secure. So what we're doing is I'm making our own. I'm using an open source Node media server written for Node.js and combining that with a Discord bot, which notifies the Discord when someone starts streaming and provides access, and so that our tutors can use VLC to see a mosaic of all of the screens. And so we're working through the process of doing that internally so that we can provide a good way of doing tests and marking and assessments online. So we're working through that. That's something I've taken on to do. So if someone wants to prove it, Benjamin, we can have that discussion in private away from the rest of the class. because I don't want to offend people. So although I can't be offended, many other people can be. Okay, so make sure you're healthy, make sure you're safe. If we go to next slide. So the team, so Alex Patan, who is the Associate Dean Students, is actually the course coordinator for this course. Offended by bad code. Maybe I could be offended by bad code, as one of the comments in Zoom. So Alex is the course coordinator, right? So when I upset you, you go and see Alex, and he can deal with that. He ran the course last year, so he's over setting up the tutorials and making sure that you have everything you need there. As a lecturer, we have me, and I'm the first 3 weeks. We have Yoti, who is taking over weeks 4 through 6, and Zohar is after the break. And that's at the moment. Of course, people may get sick, we may have transitions, there may be that Yoti might have to cover someone else, and so I have to cover her, or we'll work it out as we go, because we're still being a wee bit fluid with if and how sick people might get, but this is the current plan. We'll keep you updated if plans change. We have 10 fabulous tutors currently, so and that's the plan, to have them. And so we have Michael, Sean, Victor, John, Luke, Rose, Oliver, Gavin, Clara, and Xavier. And they are all listed in the tutorials because we've allocated which tutorials they will have starting from next week. I'll also make them as tutors in the Discord channel, so you can see them there, and they'll have additional powers in Discord to do things to manage that environment. Now, I don't know if any of you have had either. Well, you haven't had me, but or Yoti or Zohar. You can certainly look them up, see what they do. We're all different lecturers, and so I think you kind of need to be able to adjust to the different styles. I'm much more chatty potentially than some of the other lecturers, so things might change in terms of the chattiness and the use of Discord, for example, as the course goes through. So I thought I'd do a quick intro to me, which I didn't do in the previous video, but I thought, just so if you haven't had me as a lecturer before. I started programming at the age of 10. I got a ZX Spectrum, which is actually sitting in my office in Wellington, where I am not because I live down here in Mosgiel and I commute to Wellington. But I decided not to spend my normal 2-week startup period in Wellington, where I'm on site and I'm working like 14 hours, 16 hours a day, because I do big chunky work-life balance. When I'm up in Wellington, I work really, really hard, and then when I'm down here in Dunedin, I focus on my family. So I do big chunky work-life balance in like a 10 days on, 4 days off kind of way. However, with COVID, I can't do that. I'm not traveling, so unfortunately, you just have me online. So I started, my ZX Spectrum is in my office in Wellington, but I started with that one at the age of 10. I got my first professional programming job at the age of 16, where I did the invoicing system for our local hardware store, which was setting up the database and setting up the forms and invoicing system and stock taking system for them. So that was in 1990 is when I was doing that, 1991. I went to Otago, got my PhD from there in computer science, but neuroscience. So I did the functional purpose of REM sleep in mammals as my PhD. So I've got a whole bunch of AI stuff in my background. Having started lecturing at Otago, I spent 7 years lecturing there before deciding to become a game developer and move to Norway. So I moved to Norway, became a game developer, spent 2 years being a game developer, and then moved back into academia. Having got a bunch of experiences being made redundant and starting our own company and then not being paid, and a whole bunch of interesting stuff happens when you work commercially for small companies. And back into teaching, taught in Norway for another 9 years. Actually, I'm still teaching remotely to Norway, because when I left 3 years ago, they wanted to keep me. So they've kept me as a 20% position. So I teach game development to Norway in our equivalent of trimester 2 on Friday evenings. So that's my Friday evenings is teaching remotely in Norway. And I do research on games for education and games for health. I started role-playing with D&D when I was 9 with my family. So my stepmother was the dungeon master, and my family were the role players. The second one there is me as a frenzied Dunlending, so as an extra in Lord of the Rings, and you can buy me as a collectible card because that's a photograph of me when we burnt down a Rohan village. I also build medieval siege weaponry, which is the photo there is when I was in Europe. I got into building these, and so I'd build these in a weekend. So they're Viking era, late Viking era, 9th century traction trebuchets, including building one at the Medieval Centre in Denmark using replica tools. So also an interest in medieval stuff. And the last image, and the image I use and that you see regularly of me, is from my first game company that I worked at. That was the character that they drew of each of us as our gaming character. So I've kept using that. That's when I had black hair rather than grey hair. Okay, so lectures and tutorials. We're running lectures and tutorials. The lectures will be online for week 1 through 3 in this on this Zoom and also on Discord. They'll then go back to HMLT, and those in HMLT, lovely, great, nice. You got to go there and you got to see each other and you can watch me live. That's great. And we'll have the Friday lecture is kind of a mix of sometimes lectures, sometimes tutorials, sometimes tests, just other things. So the two main lectures are the Tuesday and Thursday, and then the Friday is either a fill-in or catch up. From week 2, there are 10 slots. You can sign up for those in the My Allocator system, and there's a timetable listed so you can see which tutors are in which rooms if you know who you want to interact with. Do we have any questions so far? I've been answering some questions as they come, but. Yeah, some of the slots are gone. There are some very, very popular slots. So, unfortunately, though, how we're doing that is that there is an early cap on the immediate approvals, and then there's a waiting list. And so, what we're doing is we're allowing the waiting list to fill up so that we could then rearrange those, or that's the intention, is for people who are signing up late who have particular good reasons why they can only attend one particular session, right? So there is some flexibility there. This is kind of initial sign up, okay? So don't get too stressed if you're signing in late to the course and you haven't signed up yet, and you work, and so there's only one lab that you can go to. So we'll work with Alex as the course coordinator to solve that. So someone with a clash on Fridays. If you have a clash on Friday, that's probably not going to be a massive problem because you'll be able to watch online, except when there's a test, and then we might have to find a way around that. There are alternatives. We have got running some alternatives for tests as well. So the two tests, week 7 and week 12, there are tests in the Friday lecture slot. So that's where we might have to adjust that. But if it's only 2, maybe you can work around that. Helpdesks will start up in a few weeks. We tend to focus helpdesks to be when you need them to be, because we have a helpdesk this week. None of you have started the assignment because I haven't told you what it is yet. And so you don't really need help from a helpdesk until you need help from a helpdesk. So we'll try and ramp up the amount of time that our tutors can spend with you in helpdesks closer to when things are due, which tends to be when you work. So that's what we'll try and do. The tutorials will run all the way through. So if you're a methodical worker who likes getting things done early, then the tutorials are great. If you get a bit stressed and need some catch up, then hopefully the helpdesk can fill in that gap. None of this is scheduled this week, so don't worry about that until next week with the helpdesks. I have made some changes this year. So I personally really dislike sending code by zip. I think that's not what I like doing. So I will try and do all of my code delivery by GitLab. and so or GitHub. I have a GitHub site and a GitLab site, and we're just organizing the permissions on those. So I will be sharing my code through GitLab, and you will fork the code and then develop your own fork, and then you can create pulls from the original templates if we do any updating. For every zip file submitted, a cat is thrown into the sun. Well, some people really hate cats, so they might want lots of zip files submitted. I have also moved away from... I don't use BlueJ myself, so I use VS Code. And I know Sven221 uses Eclipse. So in this course, I will be providing examples in VS Code. They are relatively easy to port into Eclipse and use in Eclipse. I'll also look at getting some of the tutors to help with any kind of issues around porting into Eclipse. And these are links to installing VS Code on your home machine and the Java plugins for VS Code to get it working. Because VS Code is more of a text editor than it is a full IDE. But it also allows you to do editing of other languages rather than just Java. So it kind of moves you away from being just a Java specific course into we could use other code, and I could show you code in C or C++, as well as Java in Visual Studio Code, and it'll compile and work, so it gives a wee bit more flexibility if people want to see some algorithms written in another language rather than just being Java focused. Because I've got a lot of experience in C and C++, and Python and whatever else, JavaScript, whatever language you want me to write stuff in, we can try and give some examples. For my GUIs this year, we've also moved to Java FX and potentially using Scene Builder rather than manually coding this. Now, certainly you can, and to some extent, as programmers, it makes a wee bit more sense for us to just manually code up placing buttons on a screen, because we create them and then we allocate them in the array, and then we kind of, place them into a format and do all the coding to create the interface. However, that's not the way that the world has moved. The world is moving, particularly sort of if you're developing for mobile, and certainly now if you're developing for websites, a lot of the work is done in builders. So the Scene Builder is a GUI builder, and it creates XML files, and then the code interprets the XML file. So that's the way we're going. I'm going for the GUI in this course, is no longer using Swing and AWT. We are moving and building classes on top of that. We're moving to using the Scene Builder and Java FX, and using it in that XML interpreted model view controller, right? So we're going to talk about data structures and algorithms in the models, and we're going to have the views as being something that I do as a user experience person. So I make UIs for you, and then you implement the controller and the data structures, because this is a data structures and algorithms course. So data structures are the model and the controllers are the algorithms, right? So the views are something that we don't worry about in this course. You do in Sven 303 or in Sven 325, those sort of courses. Okay. The course objectives, and because it's a data structures course, it's to select, adapt, and implement a wide range of algorithms and data structures. So we're going to be looking at the data structures, and certainly over the next couple of lectures, I will also look at the data structures in JavaFX, because it has a scene and it has a stage and a scene, and then components, and so it's got its own sort of directed graph, and also look at some of the data structures used in Git, so to understand how it uses the data structure of deltas of changes in code to build up the repository, and so understanding the data structures in the tools that you use, so that you can also see how you can use similar data structures in code you create, right? So kind of giving you that kind of almost meta discussion. We're also going to try and understand algorithms as described in pseudocode, and use analysis to try and work out the space and time complexity of algorithms. Now, you've been introduced to big O notation. Unfortunately, I'm not a fan of big O notation. I will be teaching you big O notation, and you'll get that theoretical understanding because other people will expect you to be able to talk about O notation, and so I'll still teach you how to do that. However, I will also look at some of the practical considerations around data storage and the modern sort of challenge we have is that our CPUs are incredibly fast because they're incredibly small. So everything is really, really close to it together, which makes them fast because speed of electricity doesn't change, it's the distance you change, right? So when you talk about a faster chip, you're not actually talking about a faster chip, you're talking about a chip that's been made smaller, so the distance things have to travel is shorter. So we actually don't mean fast because electricity and the signals travel at the same speed. We mean can do more in the same time because it's smaller. The problem with that is that your CPU gets so small that anything else, like RAM, or your hard drive, or the internet, is so incredibly far away that 1 million operations on your CPU is equivalent to going and asking the internet for something, right? So it's just understanding the real world consequences of using particular algorithms and using particular structures, as well as understanding the theoretical implications of that is what we'll look at in the first few weeks as I go through. And, we'll also, later on, we'll talk about those theoretical, what's possible to compute and what's easy to compute. And so we'll be looking at that as well, because understanding that some problems you just have to brute force if you want the best solution. There isn't a clever way of doing it. It's going to be hard. And so understanding that there are these class of problems which we know to be hard problems that can't be done in a clever way. So that's an interesting kind of understanding what we mean by computer science is kind of digging deep into the types of problems that exist in the world. And also we're going to know and be able to implement related algorithms to graphs and searching in trees and compression. And so there's a bunch of algorithms you'll also learn and approaches to constructing algorithms, which hopefully through the trimester you'll kind of follow and get better at. Okay, there is no textbook as such. Alex created a textbook, which is Data Structures and Algorithms Selected Chapters, which you can borrow from the library. But mainly this is just collections of materials which are all pretty much online now. There isn't. It's difficult to find an area of computer science where you can't find material online about that area. So Wiki is usually pretty good for algorithms. The text in them have been gone over by thousands of computer scientists to try and make it right. So they're generally a good start. Of course, coming to lecture notes, all of these lecture notes are available online, and I will be adding content in the readmes of the repos I share with you, and I will try and program in a reasonable way so that my code is reasonable code rather than crazy code. And the tutorials and the tutors will hopefully be helpful as well. Assignments. There are going to be 5 assignments and 2 tests. So how you get assessed. The 2 tests, as I said, are week 7 and week 12 in the Friday lecture slot. The assignments, there are 5 of them. They're 10% each. They're not huge, but the point of them is to get you practicing building algorithm data structures. The deadlines are midnight on Wednesdays. All right. And I'm doing a new. So this is for the first 2 assignments, and I'm going to try and get Yoti and Zohar to do the same. I don't like a uniform decrease in grade. I use a sinking cap, and so what that means is that if you're a minute late to submit something, it can't be exceptional, because it can't be late and exceptional, right? That doesn't make sense to me. As exceptional includes being on time, but if you submit really good work, just because it was a bit late doesn't mean I should grade it down. And if you submit, a C+ graded assignment, just because it's a wee bit late doesn't mean I should make that a fail, right? So the idea is, instead of taking it off everywhere, I just make your maximum grade that you can get keeps sinking down day after day. Now, so grade penalties are after any late days that you've used on the assignment. So technically how the algorithm works is it calculates your late days. If you've still got late days, it uses those up until you've used up all your late days for the assignment, and then it starts looking at this grade capping. Now, this was my initial suggestion, just to get, because we have such a short time around submission and grading, and we've got quite a few assignments, we didn't want to have things stretch out, and we're already going to have them stretch out because we're giving you 3 late days. So, you know, that's going to be, well, there already is some stretch there, so we don't want to add too much stretch. But we've got them taking 20 and 40 marks off. Basically, it also means if you're going to be late, you don't have to keep working hard to try and get a really high grade so you'll still pass. If you know you're going to be late, just get the core done, right? So that the minimum done, so that you can pass. Because if you're going to be late, there's no point trying to get the whole thing complete and try and get a really high mark, because you'll be capped anyway. So it means that you don't have an incentive to keep working harder and harder after deadline. Right? Once the deadline passes, just get whatever you've got in, because it's probably because I'll give the mark that deserves and won't take any penalty off you until the cap comes down from the buff. Does that make sense? Do people want to ask any questions about that? When is assignment 1 released? I have written assignment 1. I'm planning to release it on the Thursday lecture with the lab, because I want to get it into the Git repo, so you've got the template code available for it. So I've got to clean up the template code. I've written the assignment. I've written the majority of my solution to the assignment as well, so I know that it's possible and I know that you can do it, but I need to just clean that up. And so my plan was to release all of that on Thursday, which will give you until week 4 to submit it. Are the tests in person? Yes, the tests are in person, but we are providing an online option, and that's what we're looking at for the streaming system, and making sure there are online options available, but the preference is to have the test in person. Some of the marking sessions will be available online. We'll be using Zoom and screen sharing, and you'll be talking through, showing your code to the tutor. We're also advising you all to install OBS, because we are looking at both doing potential screen recordings, but certainly using the OBS virtual camera, which is what I'm using to do this lecture, as the OBS virtual camera. By using the virtual camera, you can share your screens in your small groups, in breakout rooms in Zoom, or in rooms in Discord, and then you can work together, because we want people to actively engage with each other and help learn to do this stuff. We want you to program it yourself, but we want you to learn with help from other people. So we do actually want to encourage working together, rather than treating this as something that you have to do entirely on your own. Right? Social learning is better. Some marking will be done, so we can do some of the marking online, so hopefully that will work. Can we make the assignment questions easy to assignment problems or assignment questions easy to comprehend and not ambiguous? I will try and disambiguate. What I tend to do when I give out assignments is also, because I give them out, they're also in the Git repo, right? So they're a Git repo with the README being the assignment description. One of the things I ask people to do is, if they see mistakes, to fork it, correct the mistake, and send me a pull request, so that I can see what the error is, and I can pull that in to the disambiguate the core description. Okay, so I do expect some help in making sure, because you have so many minds out there. I can't guarantee that I won't create ambiguity. But if you can tell me when I have, then we can clarify, and I can update the assignment sheet, and you can see the clarifications as they come in. Okay. Descriptions of questions. I will try hard to keep things clear, and also not too long, because sometimes these things get too long. Okay, so happy. Understand. Seems a general understanding of the assignment cap and the four assignments. So the first assignment will be a graphs basics. So this is in JavaFX. We have an FXML file which has the canvas and buttons, and you will be drawing a graph and reading a data file, drawing the graph in canvas. Turn the text transparent, that would be very clear. The sign up will be there'll be sign up for grading, because there will be a 15-minute marking period with a tutor when you submit, and we'll explain all that. The marking will be in the 2 weeks after the due date, so 4 weeks. So given the first assignment is due week 4, middle of week 4, the grading will be in weeks 5 and 6. And so you'll be working on the next assignment while you're getting graded for the previous assignment. Okay. I start with graphs. I then do pathfinding and articulation. I'm looking forward to pathfinding because I love A-star, because I'm a game developer, and game developers use A-star everywhere. Then Yoti will be doing fast Fourier transforms, and Zohar. Yoti might do parsing. I don't know whether that will be Yoti or Zohar doing parsing. And then there's compression methods after that. Workload, as you'd expect, we are 10 hours a week. So the lab and lectures are for 3 hours, and the reviews and readings and just kind of thinking about the course is a couple of hours, and we expect you to spend 5 hours a week on the assignments. We assume you've done 103. I've been looking through assignment 3, 4, 5, and 6 for Comp 103, and 4 and 5 for the summer school 103s. And so I know you did some stuff with bus timetables around the southern part of New Zealand. The southern part of the North Island. And some train timetables and things, and bus timetables. We're going to be doing stuff with MetLink data in Wellington. And so we're kind of continuing the theme, but digging deeper into the data structures and algorithms around that kind of data. And if you're really keen, there's also a live API that MetLink provides that you can get real-time bus data from them, but you have to sign up and tell them what you're doing with the data and stuff. But yeah, so we're kind of continuing on from there, and I expect some general maths ability, right? So I expect to be able to use some mathematical concepts and have you understand those without me having kind of go, right, division. So you divide. I'm assuming you can do division, right? So when I say start the assignment as soon as possible, I mean start the assignment as soon as I give it out to you. But I won't be getting it out until Thursday. And also the first lab, so the Friday will be me giving a tutorial on JavaFX and graphs and things. So realistically, you don't want to actually start the first assignment until after Friday, where we've done some of the setup stuff and I talked you through kind of what some of those expectations might look like. And you also find the first couple of labs, so the labs next week, will help you with the assignment. So if you find the assignment, if you're thinking, I'm butting my head against the wall, I don't understand this assignment, wait until those tutorials next week and go, okay, I understand a wee bit more. Okay, so although I say start early, you will get benefit from going to the labs. We don't like plagiarism. Plagiarism is far too easy to do nowadays, and so we are actively discouraging people from doing it because it feels like the easiest option. What we're trying to teach you are stuff that you should know, right? As a professional programmer, you need to understand how to program. And so the data structure and algorithm course is kind of core to being a good programmer. So it's not like we're trying to trick you into learning something you'll never use, right? Where I'm actually honestly trying to teach you things that I know work in industry. So if you cheat your way through it, you're just going to disappoint anyone who hires you. And so that's why we don't really want you to cheat, and we don't like you cheating. In Norway, I've had students put code on Eastern European code for hire sites and pay people to program their assignments for them. This is horrible. Don't do that. Don't directly copy from other people. If you submit code and you claim that you understand that code because you're submitting it as your code, then I can expect our tutors to be able to ask you, so like, how would you change this, or what does this bit of the code do? If you have no idea what the code you've submitted does, we don't know that you weren't plagiarizing that code. So please understand your code, right? And submit code that you understand, rather than, oh, I got stressed, I saw this worked for someone else, and so I put it in, I have no idea what it does, right? That's not good. That's not what we're looking for in the course. So and yes, we certainly have plenty of penalties. We can zero out marks, and we can raise it to the full university level escalation system, and that just gets nasty. So please just ask us for help rather than decide to cheat. Okay. We want you to work together, which is learning together, but and that means that even if you do end up with similar looking code, when you talk to the tutor about it and you understand all the code you're working on and that you've submitted as your code, then that's an indicator you understand the code. That's great. You've learned stuff. You'd be able to generate more of this kind of code, right? So learning together, fabulous. Directly copying without understanding, terrible. Okay, so it's not that we'll ping you for having a solution that looks similar to someone else's solution. We'll ping you for submitting code you don't understand. Okay, so this is there's also a whole computer science plagiarism. Right. Yep. So coding. Sometimes people dream in code. It does happen. COVID-19. We will be adding more material. However, the COVID-19 stuff is changing so quickly that it's really hard to keep up with all the changes. So we'll try and give any updates on information on our website on the COVID-19 page. I'll go and update that. Everything's changing so quickly that it's hard to spend time there. Someone's asking lab tutorial sign up. I should be just using the word tutorial rather than lab. I think of them as labs, but they're actually tutorials, so they are the same thing. So just if you hear me say lab, know that I mean tutorial. Okay. So that yes, they are the same thing. We need a class rep. So, are there any brave souls out there who are willing to be a class rep? You don't necessarily have to put your hand up right now, but what I'll do is either on the Discord or email me you're interested in being class rep, and then you can go once we've got a few people interested and someone's voting for Ben, yay Ben. So we can, once we've got class reps, we can then nominate them, and if there's a lot of them if a lot of you are keen, then we'll have a vote in Discord. And if nobody's keen, then I'll start leaning on people, and we'll get some class reps out there. Where will you find the link to Discord? I sent it out in a notice in the email. If you didn't get the email, it means you're not signed up to the course potentially properly. So I can go and check the email. It's on the Blackboard notifications for the course as well, as Ethan pointed out. We'll do the poll. I'll put it into the class. I'll put it in Discord, and I'll send out a notification to the link to where the poll is, so that we can, if people notify me that they're interested in being class reps, I'll then generate a list if there's too many, and we can have a voting. Okay, so there is a question around where is the in-person marking held, and can you explain further? So the in-person marking will be in the allocated tutorial slots and the allocated tutorial rooms, and you'll sign up for your slot and your time to be graded, and that way we can make sure that there are the tutors available at the time. We will also have some online in-person grading as well. Okay. Is IntelliJ fine for the course? Yes, IntelliJ is also fine for the course. Someone's asking, so Eclipse and JavaFX. I don't use IntelliJ, so I can't give you a lot of support for IntelliJ. Some of our tutors may be happy IntelliJ users, and so if they want to use IntelliJ, then that's great. If you want to use IntelliJ, that's fine. It's just I can't help you with the details of why it's broken because I don't use it. Will you be graded on personality, likability, and thoughts about D&D? Well, I would think chaotic evil people might get lower grades, but no. No, you'll be graded on your coding, right? That's how we grade. Yes, you'll also sign up for the grading in the tutorial times. That will be coming. That doesn't we can start until week 5. Okay, I've got 7 minutes left. Have we got any more desperate questions before I go? Because the plan was to start actually. Oh, and actually, this is overlapping because I'm currently showing you a sub view. I just realised that I've actually got these as animated slides, and so what I'll need to do is go to here and go present, and yes. So, you can just see that still, but I think I might have to bring that down a little bit. Yep. And, oh yeah, we're quite a long way down. So, I've got to find my OBS. Sorry, I just realised that I have changed my presentation mode, so I've got to change my right. There we go. Would you be able to get assignments help in the tutorials? Yes, you certainly can get assignment help in the tutorial. Entities with relationships. Why would you? Okay, so graphs. Okay, so will the other lecturers also be using VS Code? I do not know if the other lecturers will be using VS Code. I'm going to encourage Yoti to use VS Code. I don't know what Zohar will use. However, any code that goes out, I will talk with both of them and make sure that there is a VS Code version, so that at least we can. I will play with whatever they're sending out and try and get a VS Code template done, so that we have good VS Code templates for each of the assignments and lab work. They may not use VS Code themselves, so you can't rely on their knowledge of VS Code, but yeah, hopefully we'll make sure that it will work for you in being able to code things up. Okay. So this course, we're going to start talking about graphs, and I've got 5 minutes left before I'm going to all let you go. So I just thought we'd have a wee taster of some of the concepts that we're going to start going into, and what we'll be seeing on Thursday as actual content lecture, rather than this kind of discussion and answering questions. So graphs can be more than just pretty things on the screen. A graph is actually also a geographical connection of things. So we can have places. So here's a map of New Zealand, and you've got those arcs, which are the airline connections between cities. So that creates a graph of the connections, right? So there are nodes and there are arcs, which are edges, and that forms this connected whole. And so you can work out how you get from Auckland to Hokitika by flying to Christchurch, and then from Christchurch to Hokitika, rather than having any direct flight. So those relationships, it's a graph relationship. And this could be intersections of roads. In games we have nav meshes, which are again geographical, right? So they use physical 2-dimensional, or in this case 3-dimensional locations, and then connect those in an interesting way. So we're talking about graphs, both some that are very concrete, that you can see as a graph on a 2-dimensional map, as well as moving into social relationships and entities, and the entity relationships that you might have in social network or biological models. I was looking at potentially doing some of our data structure, looking at genome sequences. So if you look at the way they do genome sequences of SARS-CoV-2 with Delta and Omicron, you can look at the sequences of the DNA and how those overlap and where the mutations are, and your data structure should store those sequences in an interesting way, right? And so you can actually build graphs of the relationships between those entities, but you could also look at other data structures that store the detail of those genomes. We can look at web pages having structure. We can look at the UI having structure, which we'll look at with JavaFX and the way it does its scene graph material. We can also do abstract things like thinking of state spaces and the moves between state spaces as nodes in a graph. Now, interesting for Halo, the game, the AI system was done as an A-star search through the action graph. So they created a graph of all the things that people could do, all the things that the AIs could do, like shoot or run or flee or reload or particular weapons. Each of those were actions. They built a graph of it, and then they used a search algorithm to search for the best path to the goal that they wanted to achieve. So they created those behaviors as a graph and then searched that graph. So we're going to look at that sort of thing. Some of the terminology, and I've got 2 minutes left. Some of the terminology, we're going to talk about nodes and edges. When I mean node, I mean the equivalent of vertices, if we're talking graphics, but the node is a conceptual location or an object, and we have an edge that connects nodes together. They can be directed or undirected, so you've got an example of some directed little arrowed graphs there, arrowed edges there. So directed graphs have arrows. Undirected graphs have just straight connections. We'll look at the relationships between nodes and edges, and we'll talk about how we might represent those relationships. And we'll also discuss, some of the challenges of, as you get more complexity into your graph system, what you do about loops back to the same node, what you do about having multiple edges connecting two nodes, how you search through a system that may have temporal components, such as the bus timetables. So these will be some of the stuff that we discuss. Okay, so so that was the end of my intended slides, and so we can see, as I'm talking about those, I'm talking about directed are the green, the directed are the red, undirected connections are green, and we have a loop that is purple. So understanding those and the influence they have. So, sorry, I got behind in my chat reading. I can't fly in straight lines. Lecture slide speed run. Oh, you should see me do a speed run on lecture slides. No, I normally, in the past, I would do 8 slides in an hour. But I will, at least you can play me at 2 speed if you feel I'm going too slowly, and you can stop and go back if you're not following. Are there any other questions? A Twitch lecture slide speed run. That would be interesting. Actually, I suppose what you could do, maybe this is something we could do at the end of the course as a study kind of assistant for the last test. Maybe what I do is I get all of the PDFs from all the lecturers and I do a speed run through the course, going slide, trying to give you the detail, like trying to give that really kind of fast paced. Oh, it means this and this and this and this, and then you do this and then this, and then here you go do this and this means this, and do that speed run of the whole lecture. That could be very humorous as a Twitch speed run. Okay, it's 12:51. Some of you in the lecture room will have to start getting up and leaving. I'll pop over to Discord if there are any follow-up questions in there. So that's kind of be a wee bit of kind of office hours while I chat over on Discord. Otherwise, I'll let the rest of you go. If you have any further questions, certainly email me. We'll have tutors and tutor emails, and we'll have a class rep. Hopefully, if you email me about being class rep, I'll set up class rep in the Discord. And hopefully everything will be great. Okay. So, with that, I will stop recording and I'll say bye to my Twitch users. I didn't actually respond to any Twitch chat while we were there. There was no one on Twitch chat. That's all right. If people want to join me on Twitch and chat in my Twitch room at some point, then that will be fine too. Okay, well, have a great day. I'll see you in Discord, and I'll be online, streaming live again, on Thursday at 5, I believe the lecture is. Okay, so we'll see you Thursday afternoon. I'll send another email out before that, kind of reminding you about the lecture. Great. See you then. Okay. Stop streaming.